In this week's video, I take you to the Lost Cemetery of Infants, which is a surprisingly cheery tale. But first, my name is Tui Snider. I write books, I give talks, and I do a lot of research. I love finding interesting things and then sharing it with you. So please, take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Today, I'm going to tell you about the Lost Cemetery of Infants. While single mothers are common in today's world, it's often an intentional life choice. Back in the late 1800s and early 1900s, unwed mothers were shunned by society. They had very few options. And it wasn't just unwed mothers. This time period didn't offer many choices for girls or women who were runaways, addicts, widows, or in other unfortunate situations. Many otherwise charitable institutions, including churches, routinely turned their back on women facing hard times. So when Reverend James Tony Upchurch and his wife, Maggie May, created the Baraka Industrial Home for the redemption and protection of erring girls, it was a daring move for the early 1900s. Reverend Upchurch thought these quote-unquote fallen women could be taught a viable trade and reintegrated as independent members of society. This was forward thinking by the standards of his day. There were only 3 rules at the Baraka Industrial Home. Number 1, the woman had to work. Number 2, she had to attend church on Sunday. Number 3, the 3rd rule required every unwed mother to care for her newborn for an entire year before she could give the child up for adoption. For work, the women were taught a variety of employable skills for that era, such as becoming a laundress, making handkerchiefs, typesetting, and printing. The home published its own magazine called the Purity Journal, and later on, it was called the Purity Crusader. As you can see, they had very dramatic illustrations. Over the years, the Baraka Institute spread over 40 acres, and it became a self-sustaining village in Arlington, Texas. They even had a 1,000-seat auditorium for meetings, plays, and concerts. From time to time, Reverend Upchurch traveled to raise money, give talks, and raise awareness. He was sometimes accompanied by the Bluebonnet Quartet, a group of female vocalists who lived at his rescue home. Unfortunately, the school ran into financial problems during the Great Depression. For a while, the Reverend's daughter took over, and she turned the place into an orphanage. Even so, after Reverend Upchurch died in 1950, things changed dramatically. By the late 1960s, all the buildings were torn down, the land parceled up, and sold off. In 1981, college students discovered a hidden cemetery for the Baraka Rescue Society while they were surveying the campus at UTA in Arlington, Texas. Today, this little cemetery is all that remains of the Baraka Industrial Home. This hidden burial ground is tucked in the corner of Doug Russell Park, and while it's come to be known as the Lost Cemetery of Infants, there's no indication that anything nefarious occurred. Considering that this was a home for unwed mothers, there were bound to be some stillbirths and other complications over the years. Most of the grave markers are flat stones rather than standing markers like the one you see here, so they're easy to just walk right by. For the babies too young to have been named, the markers bear only a number, such as infant number 6. A few markers simply display a name, but only the first name. Omitting the last name was a courtesy. This was meant to protect the unwed mother's anonymity when she returned into society. For those of you interested in the paranormal, the Cemetery of Lost Infants has many claims. Reported activity at the site includes shadowy figures darting between the trees, the sensation of being watched, the sounds of children's voices, and small toys appearing and disappearing on graves. Some paranormal investigators have even reported feeling as if their hair was being stroked by invisible hands. As I researched this story, I kept waiting for it to turn sinister, to find out that Reverend Upchurch was abusive, or he sold the children into slavery, or some other terrible thing. Instead, I came away with an admiration for his lifelong dedication to empowering those upon whom society had turned its back. The Lost Cemetery of Infants is just one of the many places included in my travel guide to haunted places, Paranormal Texas. Before you go, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I post a new video every Sunday, but if you want more content right now, drop by my website. It's just my name, tuisnider.com, or you can even read one of my books. Thanks again, and I will see you next week.